Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. And today we're going to be talking about confidence and connection. And I'm going to explain to you why when you lose one, you lose the other. So this is something that most of my clients don't actively notice, but I notice it all the time. And it's one of the really unfortunate byproducts of confidence being lower is that you have lots of little moments of lost connection. So low confidence doesn't just make you feel bad, doesn't just make things feel harder at work. It actually breaks your ability to connect with yourself, with the work, with the task that you're actually trying to do, and with other people. So when you get stuck in your head, you lose access to that moment that you're actually in. And when you lose access, you lose connection. The good side of that is that when your confidence is higher, when you're in a high confidence cycle, your ability to connect with people, with the work, and with yourself is easier and the connection becomes stronger. And just like when your Wi-Fi connection is stronger, you can do more faster and more easily. So we're going to look at this relationship between how low confidence can kind of pull you inward and disrupt that ability to be present and to be connected in that moment. And I'm going to give you some examples of the times where I've seen people lose connection and the impact that that has. And there might be more of these than you think. Then we're going to go on and look at how do we actually keep this connection. And then I've got a bit of a challenge, a bit of a reflection for you at the end that you can take away into your week and start thinking about and start using to move towards keeping that connection. So first, that confidence connection link. And you'll know this instinctively when you hear me say this. You might not have thought of it, but you'll know it. If you have moments where your confidence is low, your confidence is shaky, you will notice in those moments, if you're paying attention, that you can lose connection to what is going on around you. Whether that is somebody else speaking, whether it's the flow of a conversation in a meeting, whether it's the piece of work that you're actually trying to do, whether it's your audience when you're presenting. When you're feeling low on confidence, you are pulled inward, whether that is to notice you're worried or notice that you're nervous or that anxious feeling that can pull you inward, or whether it's because, and it could be a bit of both, you start to question what's happening. You start to think about what's happening in your head. You start to listen to those little voices that are popping up in your head. And when all those things are happening, of course, it is so much harder for you to stay connected to the moment and to the people around you and to the thing that it is you're actually trying to do. Here's a really common example. So let's say you're in a meeting, everybody's going around and introducing themselves or saying something particular about a topic. Instead of being able to be in the moment and listening and hearing what people are saying and staying connected, you're busy in your head thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? How's it going to sound? What is everybody else saying? Is this going to sound good? Ooh, am I going to look stupid? And all of that, when you're in your head in that moment, you have totally lost connection to what's going on around you. No surprise, it's very difficult to do two things very well at once. So once you're attending to everything that's going on in your head, of course, you cannot properly attend to what's actually happening in the room. So I'm going to share some really common scenarios where I see this happening, because some of them are kind of sneaky and you may not have noticed them. And as I'm going through these, I want you to think, is this me? Do I lose connection in this moment, or have I lost connection in this moment? And the first one is in one-to-one conversations. And I can even notice when I'm coaching that I can do this. Imagine I'm sitting with you, you're my client, I'm listening to you, I'm really attentively listening, watching, hearing what you're saying, hearing what you're not saying. And then suddenly I've got some thought in my head like, oh, what shall I say next? Of course, in that moment, my connection to you will be broken, lost, not irretrievably, but for that moment where I've gone inside my own head to attend to my own thinking, to think about what I'm going to be saying next, maybe to try and plan, or as is the case, try and scramble around. You will recognize this. I have lost my connection to you. Now, you might notice this in one on one conversations as well. And probably not all one on one conversations. I'm guessing there's going to be ones where you feel absolutely fine and you never notice going inside your own head. But maybe this is a one on one conversation which feels a little bit more loaded. Maybe the person is very much more senior. Maybe it's someone that you actually do struggle with, or you find you have a difficult relationship with. In that moment when you're talking to them, you might be trying to kind of listen and stay in the conversation, but actually, are you rehearsing what you're going to say in your head next? Are you thinking, oh, need to sound good, need to sound articulate, need to come across well? Is there stuff going on in your head which is pulling your attention away in one on one conversations? The second example, and it's one that I just gave as well, right, is in meetings. Very often, this will happen in meetings. Sometimes my client will say, and then someone said to me, Anna, what's your take on that? And I didn't even notice what they were saying. I was so lost in my head thinking about what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, that I didn't even know what they were talking about. And that has happened to me. I've shared it on the podcast before. Pretty embarrassing. Had to ask them to repeat themselves. This also might happen if you have something to say, you have something you want to share, but you can't quite find the right moment to get it in there, or you haven't quite got the confidence to just interject and put it in there. And then the conversation's moving on, and then the moment is lost. And you're in your head thinking, when do I say it? Should I say it? How do I say it? Ooh, and the moment is lost. When you're really present with people in a meeting, there will be a moment. And if there isn't, you might have to make one. But usually there will be a moment. But you probably won't notice that moment if you are busy in your head. You also will not be able to give the full extent of the brain that you are when you're busy in your head. It's harder to make connections, see things, let your mind be and actually be useful in that conversation. The more time you spend in your head, the harder that is going to be. The less access you will have to your experience, to your opinions, to your solutions. The next example is when you're presenting. So this is something that a lot of people struggle with. It creates fear, anxiety, nerves, right? You've got to stand up. Maybe you've got to walk on a stage. People are all looking at you. It's your moment. When you'll notice someone that presents really well, what you will actually notice if you look closely is how connected they are to the people that they're talking to. Because they are not in their own head, they are connected to you. And you feel that connection, right? This is not hippy dippy bullshit. Next time you see someone presenting really well, notice what's happening is that they are connected to the people that they're talking to, even if there's loads of you. Their level of connection is really high. It's like a really strong Wi-Fi signal. And what that allows is for you as an audience member to connect with them. And what happens when you connect with them and they connect with you? You hear what they're saying. You listen. You're engaged. And not just with your intellectual mind, but like yourself, you are engaged. The opposite thing happens when we get so stuck in our own head because maybe we're low on confidence, maybe we're feeling really nervous. And when we start thinking, oh my God, what are they thinking? Do they look bored? What's happening? When we get stuck in our own head, or in the case of presenting, sometimes the emotion can feel so overwhelming that we'll really get stuck on that. That just makes it so difficult for us to maintain the level of connection. Now, it is possible to have that feeling of anxiety be really high and still maintain connection. But I think it takes pretty ninja skills. And now, even sometimes, if I'm presenting or I'm facilitating, I can notice moments where I have lost connection. And they're the moments where stuff starts to go wrong. They're the moments where people start to look bored. They're the moments where it just gets a bit off. And obviously, the awful thing about that is you could then get in your head about that, right? And the more you get in your head, the more the connection is lost. So it's like a downward spiral. But it is possible when you notice that connection has been lost to come back, to reorient yourself to those people out of your own head and back into the present moment. And this example is about being disconnected from the work itself, from the thing that you're actually trying to do. And this one is sneaky because people really don't notice this one. But let's say I'm trying to write a report, and the thing that I've got in my head is, well, this is going to be awful. Well, I'm not going to be able to do this. Oh, this isn't going to be good enough. This is wrong. Don't know what I'm doing. How hard will it be for me to stay present, to focus, and to get into it when that is the stuff that's going through my head? And when I'm in a low confidence cycle, when I'm demanding extremely high standards of myself, when I'm giving myself a hard time, when I'm doubting my ability, I lose connection to the thing that I'm actually trying to do. I miss what's actually important, not really me. I mean, I am important and you are important. But in that moment, the thing that needs attending to, the thing that needs focus is the actual task at hand, right? The thing you're actually trying to do. But you cannot properly or fully attend to that when you also have to attend to all this shit that's going on in your head. So you may lose connection to the work, to the task, and it will take you longer. It will drain more energy. It will have you going backwards and forwards. It will see you procrastinating, putting things off, not pressing send. This is another sneaky one that you might not have noticed because most people don't. When you lose confidence, you lose connection to the people who you're managing or leading. When you're feeling low on confidence, I am not saying this in a bad way. Please do not hear this in a bad way. I'm going to be I'm going to try and be as gentle as I can while I say this. And it is going to be a little gentle call out. But when you're feeling really low on confidence, your attention and your focus naturally is more on you, on the emotion that you're feeling, on the worry that you have, on your moment of anxiety, on how other people are perceiving you, on what they're thinking, on how things are landing. And all of that will take your focus and your attention away from other people that you are leading and managing because you simply do not have the capacity. Like when the bandwidth, when your Wi Fi signal is really weak, you don't have the bandwidth. And imagine the bandwidth that you do not have for your people when all of that limited bandwidth has to go on you. I talk to people who lead and manage quite a bit about this because usually the things that we're working on, or usually always what we're working on, is helping them to feel more confident at work. And what that does in terms of their leadership and their management is it lets them look outward more than they look inward. It lets them notice and be with other people because they don't have to notice and be as much with themselves. There is a subtle shift when your confidence is higher because you do not have to do all that worrying and that mental rehearsing. You can be outward more than you are inward. You can think more about the team and what they're going to achieve and how they're delivering rather than just thinking about you and what you're going to achieve and what you're delivering. And my last example is more about you. So at the beginning, I said you can lose connection to other people, you can lose connection to the work, but you also lose connection to you when confidence is low. And this is another thing that most people will not have noticed. You have opinions, and most of the time, if pushed, you know what they are. If something happens, you usually know what you think about it and what you feel about it and what you would like to do about it. However, when confidence is low, you lose connection to that knowing. You lose connection to the strength of your own feeling or opinion about something. When you're doubting, when you're wondering, when you're worrying, when you're in that low confidence cycle, and it makes you less effective. It stops you from making decisions as fast because you're not trusting yourself. It stops you from knowing what that opinion is in the moment and stating it in the way that you want to because you doubt yourself. What that can do is it can lead to a real reduction in, I struggle to use this word, but I think it's the right word, in your power. So there will be power in you in terms of your knowledge, your expertise, your experience, but all of that comes together in terms of your what you think is right, what you think needs to be done, what your opinion is about something, how you're leading, what the right decision is on that campaign. Those powerful knowings and that inner guidance that you have, you lose connection to that when you're doubting and wondering and worrying, which is awful, really, because we want that knowing that you have. We want those opinions. We need them. They are the sum total of your experience, your knowledge, the things that you've seen go wrong before, the things that you've seen go right before. And when you're really present, when you're feeling higher on confidence and you're present and you're trusting, you're going to make a decision quicker. You're going to go with your gut. You're going to go with your opinion. That is not to say that you will not use that amazing analytical brain of yours. You will, but you will be stronger in those moments. And I'm not talking about the kind of unfounded opinions which bulldoze everybody around them, but I am talking about the you way of doing things, the you way of handling that situation, the decision that you would make. When you're in a low confidence cycle, you're going to lose connection to that. So, did you spot anything there? Did you spot any moments where you might be losing connection to you, to other people, or to the work? It's good to know. But now we're going to think about what actually changes when confidence is higher. So let's say we've got a really nice, strong Wi Fi signal. Connection is maintained, even when we're demanding a lot. Even when there's somebody gaming in one room and there's somebody browsing the internet on the other and there's somebody watching, I don't know, Netflix in the lounge. Even when there is a lot of demand, when your confidence is high, i.e., when your Wi Fi signal is strong, you maintain connection and things can keep running. When you're in a high confidence cycle, you can be more present. You can listen better. You can probably be more yourself. You can probably be a bit more playful. You can probably be a bit more genuine. And you can certainly be a lot more connected. And when you are more connected, things generally go better. It is less glitchy. You have less moments where you're dropping out, and therefore things are running smoother. Things tend to go a little bit better. And therefore, that has that added bonus of building your confidence, right? Because you're seeing the fruits of being connected and staying connected in all of those moments to your work, to yourself, and to other people. So it's an upward spiral rather than a downward spiral. So when you're staying more connected to yourself in those difficult moments, you know what you think. You can make decisions quicker. You can give your opinion. When someone challenges it, you can listen, you can change your idea, or you can maintain your position. You can agree to disagree, but you will stay connected even in those trickier moments. You will not be moving away from conflict. You will be able to have that really tough conversation and stay connected to the person in front of you, as well as staying connected to yourself. You're not going to be shying away or pushing things away or ignoring things. You're going to be able to go in there open and okay and stay connected. You're going to stay more connected to the work, to the task, to the stuff that you're actually trying to do day to day. So when I asked a Confident at Work member, and if you don't know, we have a Confident at Work membership, and that is for women professionals who want to feel more confident at work. There is a link in the show notes, but we have one member who's been with us since January, and it's now, June. So she's been in a little while, few months. And I said to her, like, we did a bit of a check-in, and I asked, what is different now? What have you noticed? What has changed? And one of the things she said was, I'm spending way less time in my head. I'm just sitting down and focusing on what I have to do. And I was like, yes, that is awesome, because without that added level of worry and wondering and stressing, she is able to just stay connected. She is able to just sit down because she's spending less time in her head and focus on what it is she has to do. And you wonder what the result is of that changing 4 or 5 days a week for somebody. Less procrastination, more efficient, probably less time working with more getting done. That's the power of staying connected to the work, to the thing that you're trying to do, because your confidence is higher. And yes, if you're a professional woman, you can join the Confident at Work membership. Head to the link in the show notes. So that's connection to yourself, connection to the work, and then connection to others. And this is the main one that we think about. We miss the other two, but you can stay more connected to other people when you're in a high confidence cycle. You can listen to what is happening in that meeting. You can stay present and stay engaged, whether that's you talking to your slides in a presentation, or whether that's just round a table in a meeting, or whether that is one-on-one with an individual. When you can stay out of your head, you can stay in the moment, you can stay in the meeting, in the presentation, in the conversation. You do not have to do two things at once. You can just, thank God, focus on what it is that is happening right now. So you might be like, well, that's great, Anna. I get that there are moments where I'm losing connection, and I get that it might be better if there wasn't. But how do I actually do it? Well, same way you do all of this work. Connection is that natural byproduct of feeling more confident at work, being in a high confidence cycle. So the question to ask is, how do I get myself into a high confidence cycle? And we work at 3 levels. First thing that I want you to do is notice those patterns and those habits that are keeping you in a low confidence cycle. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head to the link in the show notes and take the confidence assessment. Well, you're going to find out whether you're in a low confidence cycle, and it's going to explain to you the impact of those patterns and habits, which you can make conscious. So first, we're going to build some conscious awareness of those habits that are shaping your internal environment all the time. Like, for instance, how you speak to yourself. So imagine that you're going to speak in a meeting, and then afterwards you're saying, oh my God, why didn't you say that? Why did you stumble over that word? That was terrible. All of that is habit, which is helping lose connection. And there are other habits within that low confidence cycle which are also helping you lose connection. So first, we want to notice those habits and see what we can do to shift them. The second is a little bit deeper, and the process, if I'm working with you one-on-one, is that we are using your brain's natural ability to change, referred to as neuroplasticity. And this neuroplasticity that we're going for, this type of brain change that we're going for, is called memory reconsolidation. And sometimes your reaction in the moment isn't actually about that particular moment, but it might be about a memory of another meeting which you were in, which went really badly, which is being triggered. Maybe you feel like you felt 10 years ago, because that meeting was actually 10 years ago, when you were a trainee or when you were a junior. Or maybe it's triggering a memory of the boss that you had 2 bosses ago who was an absolute nightmare and who would give you a hard time if you stumbled over your words. You might not be in any danger now if you mess up. And you might know that logically, but you might be holding an emotional memory, which is creating havoc in the moment. So if we're doing work together, we're thinking about what those moments, like let's say in that meeting, are triggering for you, what they are meaning to you. And it might be meaning, if I mess this up, my boss is going to go apeshit and I'm going to lose their trust even further. And that might have been true 2 bosses ago, but it might not be true now. So we're going to gently look at those old associations and shift them so that they can stop hijacking your connection and your confidence in the moment. The third level is we're going to look at, if we're working together, reconditioning automatic responses. So we're kind of retraining your system to allow you to respond differently in the moment. Not logically, but just automatically. So let's say I always have this one particular board meeting that we have on Teams. Every 3 months, I just lose the plot. I just feel so nervous. I feel so anxious. I'm inside my head. Working together one-on-one, we will look at reconditioning those responses. They are habit loops which have built up and they can be changed. So instead of freaking out and disconnecting, you're able to stay more grounded, stay more calm, and stay more connected to you and the people who are around you. But what I want you to think about is just one tiny little step this week is just to aim to notice when you're losing connection. Just aim to notice. And now you've listened to this podcast episode, you probably are going to notice. But just aim to do that. When are you losing connection? And when you lose connection, where have you gone? Where is your attention in that moment? Where's it gone? What's happening in that moment that your attention is now resting on? Because your focus has gone somewhere. So what's gone somewhere? So we just want to be a bit of a detective and notice, when are those moments where I lose connection and where has my attention gone? It might be really interesting for you to see those moments. And we're not judging them, just going to be a bit of a detective, see what's what, see what's happening. It is the very first step to you really understanding these moments. I still think there may be confidence work for you to do in the background to bring that Wi-Fi signal up, to bring that confidence up, and therefore connection will be less likely to be lost. But this is a really good first step. So if you've ever come out of a conversation or a meeting and realized that you did not know what was happening because you got lost in your own head or you were second guessing, good to notice how low confidence pulls us out and away from connection with other people, with ourselves, and with the work that we're actually trying to do. If you want to come and work with me to grow your confidence, to feel more confident at work so you can keep that connection, there are 2 ways that you can do that now. And the first I've already talked about. You can come if you're a professional woman and join the Confident at Work membership. We have group coaching, we have an online learning library, we have a private podcast, and we have trainings which you can access. Everything is going to help you feel more confident at work, and you will also hear other people's stories and other people's moments. So you will know that this is not just you. There are many other people listening to this podcast having these same challenges and probably not talking to anybody about them. In the Confident at Work program, one of the essential elements of connection is that community. And it is powerful to know that when you allow that connection, when you allow other people to hear you and to see you, and you hear them and you see them, it will help you know that what's going on for you if your confidence is lower is not unusual and can change. The second way you can work with me is private coaching, one-on-one. That is where we sit down and figure out where are all those moments where you're losing confidence, where you're losing connection at work. And then we go to work to change them. I work for clients for a minimum of 3 months. And during that time, you will notice big changes. All right, I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident, confidence.